Sorry.
Okay, well.
I'm just Ladies and gentlemen, dear FinTech Belgium member, my name is Morgan and I am the founder of Crypto 360 and I will be your moderator of tonight. We are so happy to have you here and we hope that you will learn new things and that you will enjoy this opportunity to learn more about this exciting and captivating ecosystem. Be careful, this session will be recorded. If you are here, you are probably curious about the virtual world. And tonight, we will discover the point of view of a wide variety of experts of different backgrounds, from technology to the world of gaming to metaverse. We will also explore how the virtual reality combined with the financial industry can lead to amazing and unexpected results. We will then have a roundtable discussion with all of our speakers, where you will have the possibility to ask them your question. And the walking dinner will also be a great networking opportunity with all the experts from our industry gathering together. So now, I'm going to ask for the first speaker, Johan Maes from Worldline. As a long-term payment innovator, Johan will touch upon some challenge and opportunity that extended virtualization can bring to the financial industry with a specific focus on privacy and identity, when the virtual is entering a daily life even more.
Hello and welcome here at Worldline. Thanks for being here all. Let me first just very, very briefly introduce you Worldline for those of you who do not know us. We're a paytech. We focus around handling payments, bringing digital payments and digitization around it, because payments becomes more and more embedded, more and more invisible as well. So anything around digitization around payments there. Maybe you know us from the merchant side. We try to simplify the life of merchants. Payments become ever more complex. You always have new types of payments entering the world. We try to simplify that for merchants. We try to help them bringing better shopping experiences, new channels to their customers. That's one X. Another element is we also do what we call the financial services. We have the core engine that is handling those payments, card payments, instant payments, digital currencies, all in there, the front ends. How do you bring it in a mobile wallet? How do you integrate it in an environment of a merchant, of a bank, of a consumer? And then the last element around mobility and e-transactional services, that's the digitization, the next step, embedding a payment in mobility services, in electrical vehicle charging, in public transport, linking it with identity services. So that's the payment side. And we try to focus on the tech. We try to invest what do new technologies bring, amongst others the virtual worlds we talk about today. And just wanted to mention 3 elements on this slide very quickly. We are talking about payment, so trust is essential. If the trust is not there, then forget about it. You cannot even start a business. The other element is if it's not user convenient, if it's not easy to use, then definitely you can launch a great thing, but you can put it in the cupboard 5 minutes later. So user experience is another big focus. And then the last element is bringing scale. A scale not only on the level of performance and real scaling, but the intelligence, adding value with AI into our payment solution. So just to give a very brief introduction, it's about payment, it's about technology. We try to bridge them both together. So as said, we're very happy that FinTech Belgium chose to come here today, that you all joined us here. So a very big welcome from our side. And as we are talking about the virtual worlds, I could have invited you in our Decentraland showroom, where we try to bring a space where our customers and partners can experiment with it. How do you use that as a channel towards your consumers? How do you do shopping in there? How do you handle payment in there? I could have asked my digital colleague to invite you, Willa, to invite you here, linking with some in an augmented reality version, or I could have given you a VR headset and invite you in our Innovation Experience Center in Paris. I'm not going to do all of that, so you will have to do it with good old boring me, and not even this would-be virtual version, but real life version. So let's be polite and introduce myself very quickly. Johan Maas, working in Worldline Labs, looking into new technologies and how do they bring value to the financial ecosystem, to the payments ecosystem. We talk about the virtual world. So what are the elements of metaverses in our opinion? First of all, you have immersive experiences. It's a new language that you can start talking towards your consumers. If we had web, we had social media with content proposing the shift from PCs to mobile. We had natural language interactions. Everybody's now talking about either ChatGPT or you talk to your devices. Well, this is adding a 3D or a 2D a visual additional layer. No doubt, most of us started playing with Pokemon Go already many years ago. So augmented reality on a mobile phone, it's there. There are some business solutions. IKEA is doing it already for years. You have other solutions that handle shopping. Last year, virtual reality glasses were launched at a very big scale in the consumer space, in the home space, in the entertainment space more. But both are bridging together. The new generation of those glasses, it's also about see-through, it's about immersive reality, augmented reality, and the generation of normal looking glasses that can add virtual aspects to what you see is about to happen there. Now, great opportunities, but on the other hand, if you think about the footprint we already leave today by using mobile apps, imagine that when the virtual not only enters the real life even more, but vice versa, what you do in real life is even more virtualized as well. But what about the digital footprint? Just as a small footnote or a small question on that element. Metaverse is more than those immersive experiences. What is happening is the digitization of assets. We are at the stage that digital currencies can be used in a stable way, where assets can be digitized in using non-fungible tokens, where not talking about volatile cryptocurrencies, but stable coins for a specific purpose. The digital euro that is about to come, those type of digital currency values. And on the NFT side, equally not talking about speculative art around crazy monkeys, but about representing some real objects. It can be virtual, it can be my smartphone. You can and combining them both, you can really create ecosystems. You can really digitize services around financing, insurance, theft prevention. So these offer great opportunities in there. But there again, one thing that I personally am missing. It's a bit of the Wild West. Which of those initiatives can you really trust? A lot is happening, but in which of these initiatives I'm ready to invest a little money or invest something, knowing that in 5 years my money is still there, creating a bit of profit for myself and ideally for a wider community. Again, it's just a small question on a footnote. And then maybe third dimension that is important for us in the metaverse might bring part of the solution. It's about a shift towards the Web3 philosophy and about decentralization, but decentralization in a user-centric way, where people that are contributing can get rewarded, where the privacy is like people try to look at the privacy as well. If just introducing a Web3 activist here, they say no government, no big companies, we don't need it, we can all do it ourselves. Maybe a little bit naive, but taking that as the other end of the spectrum of the big tech that really see those virtual worlds, the metaverse, as a means to collect even more data about you and me. You luckily have quite a lot of companies that try to focus in the middle. Everybody, a lot of companies are focusing on, of course, their own business model. You and me, we need to earn our living, of course, but if you do that in a user-centric way, in a user-respecting way, where you validate the privacy, and everybody that contributes to the ecosystem, if they can have a small part of the cake and also be rewarded for the contributions, that's the type of philosophy with which you really build the internet of the future, the virtual worlds of the future. So putting that all together as a kind of teaser thoughts around it is looking at those risks of leaving those digital footprints, looking at bringing those elements of trust. Why not focus on value that trusted players can bring in there as well, towards assets, digitized assets, financial assets or non-financial assets, and a digital identity. So maybe I end now too much with reaching for my own shop, but we strongly believe that with all those innovations that are happening and that bring great value, adding that element of trust with some trusted service providers that allow you to extend, if I look to my bank that is already managing my financial assets and that is already managing my car that I'm leasing, that is partially owner of my house because I still have a loan. They do that in my opinion, a trustworthy way. So extending that to a digitized version of those assets would, for me, be one of the logical steps that you could imagine there. And the same thing on if you talk about access, about identity-driven services, about data, about documents. They already have a vault with some of my valuables. Why not do that in the digital world as well? So just as a small thought of teaser, that would be for me a great bridging between innovation coming from the fintech world and the level of trust that you have from some of the bigger established companies. It was the small introduction thought I wanted to give about those virtual worlds here.
Thank you so much. I would like to introduce you to our second speaker, Frank Wossing from Proximus. As head of digital finance solution at Stellantis, Frank spearhead the development and delivery of novel solutions that enhance the client's experience and optimize operational efficiency for the financial sector.
Thank you. Great meeting you. Here, there is where I am. All right, this is probably going like this. Here we go. All right, so I'll talk about the metaverse tonight, a bit more from the financial aspects. So first, what is it? Well, it's metaverses, right? It's more than one. They're basically different environments. And the very original one here, it's called Habitat, historically speaking, was created in California. It was basically only distributed there, peak usage 15,000 people. And they already had in-house currency. It was called the token. Food for thought for all those who came afterwards and talk about tokenization. There for a long time, actually. Then you have these different environments. By the way, this is Worldline. I've been there, great place to go. So if you get an invitation, don't skip it. They even give you a hoodie if you want, if you're nice to them, right? So really cool. But I think when you look at this, daily active users, you see that the numbers and some dispute and so on are still fairly wide apart. There's a huge potential out there. And in this environment, most of the kids who go there actually do consume. They buy something. And why is this? Because in their vision of the world, the way their brain is structured, their physical appearance and personality and perception in the metaverse is as important as how they're perceived on the streets. That's why they're ready to pay $50 for a t-shirt that only virtually exists, right? But that's the reality we're confronted with right now. Now, if we look at the financial world, I try to split in three parts. So there are certain financial service providers who are basically down here. So they're doing mainly marketing there, right, in this environment. So we got JP Morgan, Zonex, the Sandbox, HBC, the same for Standard Chartered. They basically built a virtual branch. You cannot really consume a financial product there. It creates visibility, creates buzz, right? That's the base of many things. And then the second group here is actually offering traditional financial services in this environment, right, which is the next evolution there. And I'm going to share this presentation to whoever wants it, so no need to take pictures. So Saxo Bank's interesting. Actually, they're already present in Second Life. They were selling traditional financial services in Second Life back then. They're still there. You can still buy stuff there. You have BNP, they have an API and so on. And then you have someone on the brink. So they're selling like K, basically this Korean bank's financial products through the metaverse, but also certain services that are dedicated to the metaverse, right? And we move into this quadrant here, which are actually financial service providers who provide service in the metaverse, but specific services linked to the metaverse, new stuff. So credit metaverse. If you buy a property in the metaverse, they will try to provide you a loan, right? Okay. Banco do Brasil has created specific funding for GTA. You play in GTA, these people are basically going to try to fund your place and give you tokens, things like this, right? Stuff they don't offer on the high street, right? Okay. Terra Zero, Bank of here, Zelf, very interesting. They will pre-fund NFCs and all this stuff for you, right? So if you look at this, basically, you come to realize that this is actually, although I did put less pictures, a very crowded space. It's marketing. Some banks are moving here, and this is actually a fairly empty space. I call it finance 3.0. But this is actually basically where most of the new revenue lies. This is basically here, you're fighting with the others in a new channel, right? We have existing clients, existing products, a new channel, okay? And this generation, basically, Z is going to move, and Alpha is going to move into that channel to consume existing banking products. But this is actually the new stuff, right? Okay, where you offer new types of financial products. Okay, so what's driving this? Well, first, interesting number, more or less 50 billion spent on these products already. Now, compared to the world economy, 36 million trillion and so on. Okay, but still, this is growing very fast. As I said, most of them consume. What is driving this, basically? But two things are the main drivers for the consumers. It's one, simplification, I'll come to that later, and gamification. Can I consume financial services like if I was playing a game? And these two components are basically helping you to provide these financial services. I won't go to the products, they're fairly classic. But we have challenges, right, for this to happen. One goes with bandwidth, so technical challenges. Computing power, actually, Johan alluded to it. If you want to have a 3D immersive environment that's reacting to you in real time, we're talking your current computing power between ×3 and ×10. It's partly not there yet, right? The other thing is bandwidth. I mean, this has got to work. You got to, I got to be able to talk to you in the States, and this has got to work. I got to be as an avatar with you, right? Wearables, still too expensive, not comfortable. You talk to people who have been wearing wearable at the desk for 3 hours, they tell you, wow, I'm happy to take this thing off now, even the most sophisticated version. There's a lot to do in this field, right? Trust, very essential. So trust builds on 2 pillars. I'll come to that. One is basically value, i.e. you must be in an environment that you trust that actually if you buy something, it has real value. Buy NFTs that must be unique and so on, and that somebody can help you transact it safely, right? If I'm paying for it, there must be somebody that gives me the trust that my payment is going to the right place, right? And I get some value exchange. And for this to happen, right place, you need ID. You make sure somehow, and I'll come to that a bit later, that there's a trusted ID in terms of the service provider, the company, right? But also the other person. I mean, we may do some peer-to-peer in this space, right? This is actually a huge opportunity in terms of peer-to-peer finance. Web3 is not there yet. That's what we talked about. It's emerging. Friction and complexity, I'll talk about that in a minute. Interoperability, I alluded to this. There are metaverses. Although the theory says yes, because it's tokenized and NFC, you could transfer one metaverse to the other. Good luck. Try to do it in real life, really, and you'll have some real fun. Doesn't always work. Completeness, meaning actually a lot of services I get outside of metaverse are not really totally, ingrained in metaverse. Yes, there's a lot of components that are missing. Transactions that take too long. The immersion is not real, and newer interaction mode. So the big thing about people say it's an opportunity to create a new type of human interaction, but if you're in front of an avatar and you want to really truly know what the mood is, if I look you in the eyes, I can see a lot of things in terms of how you feel and so on. Do that with an avatar? Not there yet, right? Not the same kind of interhuman communication. So just to give you an example, it doesn't matter which metaverse it is, but it's one of the big ones. So to get started, one has to create a crypto wallet or use an existing one. So creating a crypto wallet means identifying yourself, yada, yada. You create a password. You get a 2FA mobile identification. And by the way, this process is one of the easier ones, okay? Right? Then you get a recovery phrase, fair enough. You see, so this is a wallet that's very well known. You do a small coin deposit and you're good. You can start to live in this metaverse, right? It's a bit more onerous than creating some kind of password for a normal website. So a bit more work, but it's actually okay. But to do payments in this environment, actually, again, you need to do a kind of KYC identification, right? You initiate it, ID document capture, facial liveness complete. Actually, a fairly fast one. But to make a payment and re-identify, you got to use your wallet. So what you realize is basically you're sometimes paying twice for a transaction due in a metaverse. Okay, I'm paying for the payment and I'm paying to identify myself. So this goes past the hype. Everybody says cool and so on, but if you think about it, we're very far from this pure ergonomic, easygoing and cheap stuff. It is actually not that cheap yet, right? Okay. Again, 2 layers of payment. I do a payment, I re-identify, I got to spend a bit of Ethereum to re-identify myself to process a payment. I've seen easier things in life, right? And the kids do it because it's cool and we're part of it and whatever, and I want to have these sneakers from Nike and they're the coolest, and I'm really even ready to pay ridiculous amounts for it. In other words, there's a lot of work to do for this to become easier and ergonomic. But it's like the start of the internet, right? We're really in early days, and it's going to happen. So what I'm going to focus on ID basically. What are the trusted ID solutions that are out there? Well, there are a few, and luckily there are, and they're still also partly in exploratory mode. They're partly things that already exist but have not been applied. So one is Retina. So if we have a wearable, we could have in these Oculus Rift or whatever it is, a device that will control your Retina once in a while. Not only when you set it on, but every 10, 20 minutes to see it's still really you doing stuff, right? That's one, okay? Although that can be tampered with, obviously. The other one is voice. We believe voice is interesting and potentially very big. Why? A voice is 100 times more differentiating than your fingerprint. It's super personalized. Maybe our ear doesn't do it, but from a frequency point of view, our ear is between 20 20,000 megahertz, but an AI system goes far beyond that. Okay, and there are sub-modules in voice. A module, the AI that the device your voice can recognize it's the same voice. It can recognize it's a live voice, not a replay, and it also can recognize it's not a synthetic version of your voice. Okay, so that's, and we think that, look at Alexa on these things, that once we're there in terms of chatting, humans will want to interact by speaking to their machines instead of typing buttons. So, and by the way, the less buttons you have in the metaverse, you have a mask and you see these little devices, the more you can speak to it, well, guess what? The cooler it'll be, right? We're not there yet, potential use. E-wallets, we talked about it, right? These are serving to identify yourself and to layer it. There's an interesting one. Certain emojis have unique personalities. They're linked to like fingerprints of devices and so on. So that can be used as a tool to identify yourself. Fairly cool, fairly hip in Asia. Some of them sell actually for big money. Behavioral metrics, that's basically AI is going to look at your digital footprint and say, well, this is the behavior that this person normally has in this environment, and if the behavior is totally different, and then, well, maybe there's something suspicious, and we'll raise some flags. And it can be inside a metaverse, or it can be enriched, i.e. gather information outside. And reputation. Okay, so it's like many websites and so on, basically, it is imaginable, and in certain countries already done, that you get a reputational score, and the higher reputation of a person is as an avatar or an avatar, actually, well, the more you will trust it, right? So the algorithms being built around that. There is the Metaverse Standards Forum, and they have a working group that works exactly on this, how to create trust, how to warrant that the identity of the person or the company think you're dealing with, is adequate and truthful, right? So this is all in working currently. This is it. I put some references in the back so you can find what I found. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to tell you is it's a hugely growing universe. It's just at the starting point. Accept the fact that we're not there yet, past the hype. There's a lot of work to do, but there's solutions out there through which we'll make it happen, popular, and have, soon. I'll give you one example. Roblox GDP in 2021 was 1.9 billion. That's bigger than certain small countries. So you better get ready for it, but it won't wait for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, the third one, Sasha Weidman from the Smart Society.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone. I will try to share my view about the future of the metaverses. The only way to shape it is to create it. It will be my message. So first of all, you maybe recognize that it's not myself. I use a PFP, as it's really trendy in the NFT space. And a lot of visuals that I use are used by Midjourney and some AI tool to create images from AI. Yes, maybe just one word about myself. I'm an agency founder. Right now I'm launching Open Warfare. It's a game linked with virtual worlds and metaverses. And I'm also launching the Smurf Society, which is the official NFT collection of the Smurfs. About the agenda, by the way, I did it with ChatGPT. It was quite funny. So what is the metaverse? What are the virtual worlds actually? What are current cases that I saw during my travels in the US? Challenge and barriers that we can figure out. Then the future is now, the Smart Society, and some call to actions. First, a definition of the metaverse. For me, at least, and what we can read online, a shared virtual space where we can play with our avatar, when we can interact and explore the world with our own avatar. Then, there is an analogy that I would like to share with you. In 2019-94, with the smartphones, when we were buying just a phone, people were yelling at us, but what you will do with that? You will go in the park, and people will just call you when you are doing a little ballad in the park. What's wrong with you? And we are a little bit in the same moment with the metaverses. But what we will do with these metaverses? Our children will use it, will become crazy. Did you see what they do with the current social media and smartphones? what are you building with this? And it's really something that we see commonly in the media in Europe mainly. So as every innovation, we can use it for the best or for the worst, and it depends who is building it. So it's me arriving in the US, full of misconception, full of thinking that the metaverse will be bad. And I had the chance to go to Los Angeles, San Francisco, to meet the people really building over there, Sandbox, the other deeds. And I realized that they do not know exactly what will be behind, but what they decided is to create it and to go forward and to experiment with it. And I think that here we do not experiment enough. So first, about the virtual worlds, I think it's not new at all. We discussed about it. Myself, I play a lot to GTA, and I think that it's a really good example. When I was going to LA, when I was going to San Francisco, I was thinking like, I already know these places. I already went there, but it was just because I played to this game. Why the adoption is really right now, and what's happening now, it's clearly because technology, because AR and VR are more common. In the US, we see the adoption of the VR headset really commonly. Everything is gamified. We see that social media are not enough right now. They have to innovate. We will have to be more immersive. We see that the social media such as Instagram are more popular than Facebook. It's because people want to be in an environment where they can interact with others, where they can discuss with some other people. On the other side, we see that the AI right now can generate environment in real time according to the person and the input that they will give to the machine, and this will help, of course. Last but not least, the digital literacy. The children of today live into the metaverse. Their friends are in the metaverse. They are playing with their friends in Roblox, in League of Legends, in other games, and tomorrow they will interact and shop and play into those worlds. To give some metrics, I didn't know that it was 1.9. I was thinking it was 1.2, but by the way, it's big numbers at the end for the Roblox revenues of 2021, because we have exactly the same metric. Travis Scott gathered 29 million people into the Fortnite for a concert. For the first iteration of the concert, there were like already 13 millions. It's just crazy numbers. Where in the world we can have a concert with so many people? The first test with the true mass adoption of massive amount of people is the other deal. Is the only one who gathered more than 80,000 people on the same map at the same time. People interacting with each other. These numbers are crazy, and it's thanks to technology. Another example that I was also, okay, we talk about numbers, but one champions of League of Legends, they are creating one every 8 months. It's 200 people working on it, and it costs 160 millions. It's just massive. And I was talking with the head of production of the game. I was like, okay, we are talking about huge numbers, and it's a game. So the industries are being created and are going into new value creation pockets, I would say. So I try to, I'm more in the, I will say, entertainment and so on, but I met some people into more industrial world, such as Toyota. And I felt this example quite impressive in B2B. So Toyota is creating facilities inside the metaverse to help the trainings and to help to sell new projects, because it's easier, of course, to go into a virtual world to show the facilities than going into Georgia with some trainees and some clients. And so they are doing the tour with the best seller of their company. He can be in the US, the client can be in Tokyo. It doesn't change anything, or it would be probably the opposite, but however. And it could be token gated, so it's fully confidential. If you own the token, you can have access to the facilities. If you if it's an experience that people must do to complete a certain certificate, they can receive it directly without any paperwork or something like that. So a lot of things can be automated through the use of this technology. Carrefour, they gather, I think, 50,000 people for a recruitment. how can we do that in the real world? It's impossible. And I think that it's also because it was into the metaverse that people were attracted by this fact. So it's also a kind of opportunity to say, okay, we can differentiate ourselves, we can create virtual interaction. People, those 50,000 people were interacting with each other, and so they were just observing people interacting with each other to select the one that they want to proceed and to go to the further levels. So less work for the recruiter, I think. So right now, my conclusions about it is that it could be really for good in terms of education, in terms of mental health. I put some examples. In education and learning, I think we can foresee it, we can look forward. School can be decentralized, can be democratized, we can have smart learnings, people in immersive environment with the best teachers of the world. And also, it's yes, for emerging market, it could be also a way to level up, to take what we say the social lift. For equality and inclusion, we speak a lot about social scholar workers, those people who are playing to axie infinity to have some income. At the basic, it's true that it could be a little bit bad, because we say, yes, they are playing to make money, what's this, what's behind, what's the value behind? But at the end, they are going into these technologies, they are using it, there is a transfer of value between the North and the South, and so at the end, for them, it's quite useful. They have like money incomes from this gamified experience. ReFi, the conscious financing. We talk a lot about the regenerating finance, how the decentralization, the affordable finance, having credit based on other metrics that only like the income comes that we have from our work. It's something that in emerging market, it will help. Of course, it will make unbankable people bankable. And then for mental health and well-being, I think that it will dramatically help for PTSD with use with enhanced cognitive behavioral therapy. Also for anxiety, claustrophobia, vertigo treatment, it's really crazy, like the results that we can have behind. And also just even for relaxation, travel, and immersive entertainment, people who want to travel to Machu Picchu but cannot afford it, they can fly over without nobody inside, and they can discover this place. Maybe some people will never have the chance to visit those countries. Then there is the bad side of it. There is a topic about ownership. Are the people who own most of the planet, who will own the metaverse tomorrow, who will decide where the data will go and so on? Yes, probably there is a part of it, and it's the people who build it who will decide it. Then addiction, as social media and gaming has already proved that addiction could be a problem for socialization of our children and so on. It will be also a challenge. It's really some boundaries, some limits have to be put inside it. And also for surveillance, we talk about the social rate ranking in China and so on. In the metaverse, that the same kind of tracking will be done by companies, by governments, by other people, by hackers. It's something that we know will happen, and we have to put limits and put an eye on it. So about the challenges, we already talked about it. I don't think I will have to come back too much on it, but the business model has still to be found, because we know right now that the current play-to-earn model do not work really as they are today. So there is plenty of innovation that could be done right there. The governance, the DAOs right now, it was more a tool to permit to people to just do not have responsibility of the problem that can occur in terms of reliability of the system and so on. But there is a real promise behind a well-governance, a well-designed governance into those models can really improve the way people are involved in the project, are rewarded about the project, and can work for to have like a value back in their pocket. But every problem has this set of solutions. So this is another image created by AI. A friend bought it because I don't have the prompt, but it was like a man and the Romanian Empire seeing the world for the best or the worst, you know. And it was really like, okay, we have a choice. We have in front of us. We can go for the best or for the worst. And for me, the best, it would be like used for social activism, for sustainability, for creativity, to create a new world with a lot of promise. The bad will be to let the people who did tons of money already in the previous revolution with Web 2 and to take it back, and for Europe, which is a little bit more ethical in terms of principle, in terms of inclusion, in terms of diversity, we can maybe use it also to push that forward and to create a better future. So we did it at our own little level with the little Smurf, the little blue one. By saving the Smurf, you are saving the planet. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So we launched an NFT collection of 12,500 PFPs. The idea is really to reward social activism. So for that, we launched a game to raise a community. We have 50,000 people. We just launched in December. We are doing our first drop in next month. What's behind is to create a real relationship between artists, brands, and the community, and to reward people who are incentivized in these, who are on board and doing things in these communities. To give you just an example, it's EMPS, so the mother company of the Smurf, who has been used with UNICEF to do the biggest beach cleaning of the world. They gathered 160 million people on the beach to do a beach cleaning for a month. So those are massive campaign, and the idea is to reward the people who were there on these beaches to prove their attendance and to showcase that they did something for the world. There are other elements that are coming in, and I invite you to just follow the project to be more about what's the next step about social impact. So personally, I think that individuals and organizations have to be involved in the future of metaverses, mainly in Europe. I think that there is clearly an uncaptured value, and new opportunities can be health, education, lower consumption, and bring more integrity into this world. We have to clearly think pragmatically, and everybody knows that, but do a POC, a proof of concept, an initiation, an experiment. I think that it's by doing that we can go forward. To give you just one example, in the US, when I met those guys of the other side, there were like 5 Chinese, 2 Indians, 1 French guy into a meetup in a house in Palo Alto. They raised, I think, nearly, on a valuation of 4 billion, they raised 700 millions. And they were like really in a garage mode. Okay, they had like Tesla in front of the door, but it was still in a garage mode. I believe that the problems we face today can really benefit from gaming and entertainment to learn, churn, and find groundbreaking solutions. The choice is yours. It's not a choice, it's here to stay at the end. The metaverse will exist, we don't know yet how, and we have a responsibility to reshape it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I would like to introduce now our last speaker, Dimitri Pernet from One Bonsai. So Dimitri is the co-founder and managing partner of a company that provides virtual and augmented reality solutions to the most complex, expensive, and dangerous challenge that businesses are facing today.
Just to confirm how much time do I have, because just to see with the timekeeping of the event, I can compactify a bit if you wish. 10? Okay, let's do it in 10 then. So, I'm Dimitri. So, One Bonsai, we do virtual reality solutions for B2B. We work on custom projects, so we build the projects from start to finish, from the first idea, from the first storyboards all the way to the deployed virtual reality solution. And we also work on off-the-shelf VR solutions. So VR solutions that One Bonsai builds with its own resources and sells them on the market as our own brand, basically. We work in 3 main sectors, everything public services, everything health and medical, everything industry and safety. You notice that finance industry is not listed because indeed the finance is not one of our main targets. Frank and Sasha have already covered, the different components of the metaverse and so on. So what I'm going to focus now on is telling you about extremely concrete use cases of virtual reality and augmented reality that One Bonsai has worked on, and branch from there. So one very recent example is a PIT training, so a paramedics intervention training. It is a full-fledged training in which we train paramedical personnel on how to react on a car crash or on a bomb explosion. So the way this training works is by having multiple trainees in the same situation in one go, and triggering these trainees basically to work together. This training is very unique because it combines police, firefighting, and medical personnel that have to work together in a decentralized way, meaning that some trainees can be, for example, here in the world, here in these offices, and some others can be in another city participating in the same simulation, in the same training. And this is a huge use case for our clients because it allows them to set up these training situations at an extremely interesting cost efficiency, because they don't have to move people basically from one location to another anymore. They can do it all virtually. Another example is a complete virtual reality training that we have done for Nike, which trains them on all their which trains all their warehouse personnel, so all their logistics personnel. Nike has huge challenges of churn. There's plenty of new workers coming regularly, and all of these workers have to be trained from A to Z. So the way the use case is huge for Nike, because before working with us on a virtual reality solution, they used to have a 1 week long training where one trainee would train 7 students basically. And so one trainee would be able to have 7 students ready at the end of the week. Now that they work with virtual reality, here you can see a little bit of our installation. This installation grew massively. So now you have to see it as 32 virtual reality stations that are organized in an array in a large warehouse. So it's very almost dystopian to look at. You really have like this sea of people that are immersed in virtual reality and that have a 4-hour long training in which they learn everything they have to know to actually work at the Nike logistics center. Now that they have this solution, they do 4 hours training in virtual reality, and then one day, one instructor with a group of 30 people. So you see the gigantic improvement of that training, because it compacts that training time like crazy. Another huge improvement is that now that they use VR, each trainee has a one-on-one coaching by the virtual reality training software, meaning that when you're learning, if there are things that you pick up very fast, the training is going to go as fast as you. If you have some issues understanding some concepts within the training is going to take more time to individually coach you in order to for you to get a full comprehension of it. So we are almost at a level where we have one-on-one coaching, totally virtualized, totally driven by the pedagogical model in that training. This is one of the largest use cases that we have done in VR. We also work with police and military, so we train them on violence de-escalation training and tactical training. We also provide the Belgian marine firefighters with virtual reality training. So that use case is also worth explaining. So before working with virtual reality, they used to do one training per week. It means that a group of military personnel has to go at sea every week, set a boat on fire, and do the entire extinguishing for the sake of training. The costs of these trainings are gigantic. Now that they train in virtual reality, they do this full, they do it 3 weeks in a row in virtual reality. It allows them to train on multiple situations. Like they can not only train on one situation in one specific ship, they can basically train on plenty of different configurations and focus on their teamwork, focus on their communications, focus on their application of the proper procedures. And so they train 3 weeks in VR fully, and then every month they do basically a real naval exercise. So the cost reduction for that VR use case is also absolutely insane. For hospitals, we also build virtual reality training, so VR trainings for nurses-specific procedures, also evacuation training, so how to evacuate a hospital with people with limited mobility or specific diseases and so on and so forth. This is also extremely important because these trainings are very difficult to realize in real life. So to compact my presentation and make it on time, I'm going to stop here with my showcase of use cases. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Now I would like to introduce you to our next speaker. So it's Christophe Martens from Blockchain for Belgium.
Thanks, Morgan. Thanks, everybody. And first of all, thank you, Alessandra and Xavier, for having me. I'm quite happy to be here. So I work for the government. Yeah, the government, you know. And I work for Belgium and SPF WOSA. So SPF WOSA is digitalization and simplification. So what we are going to do, basically right now, as you see, folks there represent huge ideas in Belgium. We have talents in Belgium. We have a lot of talents, but we need to be smart. And for this, we need a smarter nation, which include all the people there on the first row, but also people at the second, the third, and the fourth, and the fifth row. That's very important. Second of this, we need to inclusion. Inclusion of what? New technology like AI, cybersecurity, blockchain. You know, the 40 transfer regulation is now, and we need to be there as a country. Then it's convergence. It's about the technology. We spoke a lot about the interoperability, like ISO 2022 and stuff like that. And the ambition. We really need now to put Belgium on the map for blockchain, Web3, and digital assets. To do so, we are launching, and now with our partners, of course, FinTech Belgium, Agoria, WorldChain, Bax, and DI for Belgium. We are about to launch blockchain for Belgium. So what is it? It's easy. So for now, it's an ecosystem. We have more than 500 people right now, only professional, lawyer, makers like Sasha, like Alessandra, and other people there involved. We right now identified eight task forces. Those task forces, and I invite you because I see people with the phone. Those task forces will be launched on the 13th of March. So please join if you want to contribute to the Belgium evolution. And we also made some recommendations. So it started in the 16th of March last year during the EI week. We had 14 international speakers like guys from Swift, from the West, and other stuff like that. It was quite nice. Then we also provided some position paper to the FSCMA, to also a position paper and recommendation for the government when we have questions from the cabinet and about the crypto regulation and stuff like that. We also push for it with the ecosystem, because our ecosystem and the initiative is really bottom up. So it means that the people involved really provide the effort and the strength of what we are doing. We are all in this together. We're not going to make it, you know. And then yeah, we're quite happy to having a lot of people from the north, the south, and the south. We're happy with what we are doing right now. And some things will happen in a few days. Just so check the media. On this aspect, I spoke about the different work groups that we have. So those are the strategic aspects that we want to develop. Why we want to do so? We really want to do, in fact, to develop like a plan, a strategic plan for Belgium. So it needs to address, some guys like Sasha is buying crypto. Fiscality is not quite clear in Belgium, We need to clarify this, but also to make it interesting for the companies, but also for individual, like PPP and ISOC, we call it in the jargon. I see a lot of interesting use cases for the government, like what our colleague just previously presented. But really happy to go into this direction. We also to see where we are right now in Belgium versus Estonia, versus Portugal, versus the States, Dubai, and stuff like that. This is really important. We need to stimulate this ecosystem. There is education that needs to happen. Morgan is a company which educates a lot of people. We need to educate. What do we need to educate? Citizens, business makers, also governments, people working at the administration, just to clarify things. Blockchain is not crypto. It's not a Dogecoin. It's also a technology, and very important one. And then there is a lot of use case that we are going to cover to read on the slides. So right now, as I told you, on the 13th of March, we are going to have the EI Smart Nation Week. As I told you, I cannot spoil, but I can only tease you for right now. Just check the media in a few days. And we're going to have an event. We have different task forces that will be there. So real professional. We are going to have interesting people. We have the head of Swift, also from the web. So Klaus Schwab normally should be there, waiting for the confirmation. And that's really what we are going to do. We are going to draft and make the future of Belgium happen. It will happen this year, and it should happen in the following year as well. So right now, as I told you, so thanks a lot again for having me here tonight. And yes, I'm working with Mark Toledo. He was mandated by the State Secretary for this. And I'm Christophe Martens, by the way. So I used to work in crypto companies like Chainlink and others for a few years. I also chairs into INETBA, so International National Blockchain Association for Europe, quite a lobby, for the private sector. Also for Fujitsu and banking sector and stuff like that. And I'm also with my colleague Nathan Ackerman, who is leading EI for Belgium. So the same idea, but for EI. And at the end of the day, what we want to do is develop deep tech for Belgium to connect all the dots: security, data, blockchain, EI. And then when we have this, when we are having this conversion between initiative, we are going to really make it. So thanks for having me again. And I have a question if you want to grab a drink. I'm happy to have a discussion with you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Christophe. It is now time for our panel discussion, the Q&A. So, yes, please. So, there, audience, this is your time. If you have any question, don't hesitate to ask one of the speakers.
Let us first put this camera where it needs to be. So if I can ask you to stand up when you ask a question so that the camera can see you.
So I have a first question. The question is for Proximus. What do you see as the technology? I know it's a little bit of a gap, but within 5 years, I know Proximus is doing a lot for 5G, but what do you think, metaverse-wise, would be one of the first things that we would see, really, we as an end user from Proximus?
Thank you for this loaded question. I'm going to answer it in general. I think the technology boosts are going to come from brighter, actors. So one thing, obviously, I alluded to it is the speed, right? Meaning you will need something that will make it easier to interact with other people. And there's the technology that sometimes people forget about. There's the bandwidth also, but there's also the compression rate of the data and the information used. So I think in this field, there's stuff that's going to happen, right? The other thing I believe is going to boost this, in terms of pure tech, is going to be computing power. It's going to implode. I think also that we're going to have more, basically, we have had this movement. We used to have PCs, right? Then we moved to the cloud, so a lot of computing power was centralized, and actually now we're going to have a lot of local computing coming back again, right? Because this is going to be the only solution to basically resolve that issue. That's going to be the second building block, right? Compression, the distribution of the computing power. The third aspect, in my mind, is clearly going to be linked to the wearables, right? That's going to become far lighter, ergonomic, consume far less energy, and these kind of things really. And we're waiting for June when Apple finally will come out with whatever they're going to come out with. So it's miraculous. And another technology is also AI. So a lot of what's going to happen there in terms of, I talked about emotions. So to have an avatar that's actually going to convey human emotions is going to need something that really basically takes what you're portraying, it's going to be your choice, by the way, how much you want to show, and transform it into movements and facial expressions that as near as possible, even eyes and everything, to who you are and what your emotion is at that time. So I think these are going to be the main drivers out there, and I strongly believe that they're going to be boosting this. I add to it two other components I added before. Right. Basically, it's going to be enhanced by a mix of biometric, behavioral, and device fingerprints. And they're really essential to make this work, because if the tech work and I don't trust it, it's not going to fly.
More question?
Hello, everybody. So first of all, thank you so much for the presentations. It was very insightful. My name is Peter Polikovic. I work for Bird & Bird LLP here in Belgium, and we specialize basically in financial regulation, payments, and fintech solutions. And my question is more general, not so loaded, and it also goes out to the whole panel, really. We heard about metaverses during your presentation. We heard about, and then we saw a metaverse payment sort of step by step in, I think, Frank, in your presentation, where we saw essentially an Ethereum blockchain payment. And I was wondering, do you all agree that blockchain will be a substantial part of metaverses? Is it something that can only coexist, or do you have different visions on this, essentially? Because we saw metaverse in the case of virtual reality as well. So this is my broad kind of questions.
I can say a word about it. I think it's a part of it right now. The difference, if I may, I'm nobody to argue this kind of philosophical question, I will say. But on one side, the virtual reality and the metaverses are separated by the blockchain, in a sense, by the collaborative aspect of the blockchain, and the fact that it's immutable. It will stay for the community, with the community, and the people owning a part of it will make it more, in a sense, trusted by the community. So it's one of the key points of the metaverse that I would like to share. Another one is that the community that is creating something and everybody approves it, it will not change in the future. So it's not like an entity deciding, okay, so because this building, I approve it, and so on. They have to have an agreement. Or someone who owns like a part of it will own it forever, because he is the owner of this piece of land. And so he will decide if he suppress, if he sell it, if he create, if he upgrade it. And so the different experiences between the metaverse or the virtual worlds, I would say, is the decentralization on one hand, and the decentralization, the fact that the people are owner and the community is owning like the system in itself.
Yeah, and just to add something, I think you will find completely centralized versions. If you would talk to Meta, I know what they will say, what they will aim for. You will have completely decentralized versions, and you have that at multiple levels. Either on a technological level, if the fact of decentralization really brings value. You use it as a technology engine, like you were saying. It's much more than crypto, NFTs, whatever. It's a technology that opens new perspectives, but also from a point of view of embarking everybody. Everybody that contributes gets a little part of the cake. So it's that part of ownership and contributions that are rewarded. That philosophy of centralization, uncoupled from the pure technology layer. I think both aspects can definitely add value, and some initiatives will have it, use it, and others will not.
Adding to the perspective, so I think the blockchain technology is three building blocks. One is basically decentralized computing. The other is basically immutability, where you have this chain, and basically the other thing is consensus protocol. So I think you need to split the technology. The consensus protocol, yes, because you need decentralized consensus. Do you need decentralized computing? Probably no. The new protocols don't need it because we want to consume less energy out there. It's not going to work. On the immutability part of that technology, I'll put a huge question mark in the sense that, well, you know, the right to be forgotten, the right to certain privacy and things like this. Maybe we'll find a solution that will address this. There are already technological solutions out there. So my answer to your question is yes, blockchain will remain, but actually probably a new version of blockchain compared to what we have today that has more of its qualities and less of its drawbacks.
If you flip the question around, so can we build this vision of the metaverse without blockchain technology? You're going to get into these into a completely different type of vision. So you're going to land into the centrally owned platform, centrally owned mechanisms of truth, of tracking ownership. It's going to be a completely different version. And at the moment, blockchain is not something that is as it is or isn't. It is still a completely shape-shifting thing, like what we mean with blockchain now versus within 3 months. It is still evolving, and it's not metaverse is built on top of the blockchain. It's the blockchain is also now built in relationship with the metaverse. You have to see it as this entire ecosystem that is bringing upwards everything. Yeah,
Actually, if I may, I have a question to the public. Okay. Yeah, come on. I mean, you guys have too. So I would like to know, so how many of you actually have created and are using the metaverse? Just raise your hands. Have an account and are using the metaverse once in a while.
Define what once in a while.
Yeah.
Once or in a while?
I know, just in a while. You created an account and used it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So how many have actually consumed, spent some money in it? Okay. And how many are using it every day?
Is ownership of, let's say.
Okay.
All
right. Thank you so much. I see huge potential, a huge gap being filled. We still need to fill it up. Yeah. What do you think? Huh? A lot of work to do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hi, thank you for your time and panel. This is fascinating. I'll admit I'm not much of a tech person, but I did notice that a lot of the reference to the metaverse is really grounded in the gaming culture or social media. So metaverse is Facebook, right? But you're also using it to describe virtual reality in general. But then one of the examples with League of Legends, which is a video game that is online, that the demographic is mainly middle schools and boys, and they're spending their parents' money. So my question is, considering the metaverse is sort of fragmented between social media with older users and video games with younger users, how do you expect to market this to a public where the expenditure of video games is massive, but it really skews young, it really skews people in high school or maybe college, and then it drops off significantly after they enter the workforce? Thank you.
Is there anyone who want to ask the questions?
Everybody.
Who's going to get that one?
I can. So a few questions, I your question, one of the first questions was, how come we refer to gaming and how come we refer to social media that much? That is because the vision of the metaverse that the world wants to get doesn't really exist at the moment, and the way we are going to consume that metaverse or spend time in that metaverse doesn't really exist in full form yet. And so we try and understand how we are going to interact with it with what we already have. And what we already have now is the Web 2.0 examples, such as like social media. And we have also the gaming world, because this is what humankind has at the moment, which resembles, I would say, the most spending time in virtual worlds. These examples of video games are not examples of a metaverse experience. We call them lobby-based gaming, so it is indeed a game world in which you have sometimes 100% connected to the same lobby at a time, but that lobby only exists for 20, 30 minutes and then vanishes in thin air and doesn't have any persistence to it. There's no ownership, there's no capability for the users to create in it, and so on and so forth. So it is a tool that we use in order to try and understand the way we're going to use it. So we think about our lobby-based gaming experiences and we project it in, okay, what would that resemble if we have 900,000 people connected to that metaverse and with a persistent world. It's us trying to project ourselves in that. And as Frank discussed, there are still plenty of technological limitations. At the moment, the biggest that has been done is 30,000 at a specific moment, and that's basically a technological leap. Another sub-question that you asked is, we are going to push the youth more into virtual worlds, while we know at the moment that virtual worlds are a problem for them. So here there are a few assumptions that are made. A video game and negative impact on youth is not an easy topic to explore, because it is sometimes the fact and it is sometimes not the fact. Virtual worlds have been proven to exert extremely positive reactions from plenty of groups within the youth. But there are also challenges, like we have plenty of problems of toxicity, of online bullying that take very dangerous forms, basically. You have a remark?
Yeah, just to point out, I wasn't speaking for this adult or social aspect. I was talking about, we're trying to reference the fact that staring at a screen for a long time is physically damaging.
Yeah.
And the closer the screen is to you,
yeah,
the worse and the more prolonged the effects are.
Okay.
So what is the idea of
Okay.
having someone who's quite young spend much of their life or even their education time, 8, 12 hours a day, staring at a screen?
Yeah. So I'm going to repeat your remark in the microphone so that everyone and in the chat they can hear it. So it's about the effect of screen time on the youth. The youth now has 3 to 6 hours, I believe, of screen time today in the 12 to 16 age range. It seems a lot, but it's an average. The median is way higher. And then basically, if we push people to start studying the metaverse, yeah, we are going to boost their screen time indeed massively. And that being said, as one of us has presented, I believe it's Frank, regarding wearables, about the comfort of them, about the long-term use of them. At the moment, we cannot assume these to be basically in the form that they will be in 2 or 3 years. So there are still massive challenges to address on that.
Also, the next tech, at least in my mind, is going to be augmented reality. and you will not have to be seated anymore to use this. And actually look at Pokemon Go. Tons of kids suddenly started running outside because they wanted to find that one Pokemon, right? And you had to go far away. So depending on how we gamify, and if augmented, or they say, you know, a mix of augmented and VR, so you can take a screen that blacks out or not, people will be able to run around. Okay, you can play basketball and do whatever wearing these things. That is really the projection that's going to happen out there, right? So it's, as always, it will depend on how you use it, and there's the inverse is possible. There's a huge potentiality to make people move, to augment their lives out there, right? Then it'll be upon us to educate them. I think also you talked about a curve where people who game and it breaks off. Is that correct? That was your last question. Well, my thing is, it's like at work. You couldn't imagine barely a kid growing up in the 90s coming to work not getting a PC on the desk today. I think, quite frankly, in whatever 20 years they come to work, they'll get the AR glasses. It's going to be part of the equipment. So they're going to continue to live and work based and use this technology every day because they're going to become so much more productive doing it.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that was model. There's already a big user base, so by definition it starts over there. And that's exploring about where are the other use cases, where is the other usage. And then I tend to completely agree with Frank. I personally believe a lot more in augmented reality, because then you create value in what you do every day, and you can really add virtual aspects to what you do, really creating value and not doing something outside of the day-to-day business. Then you really start getting into it. And the next step is now the fashion brands. It's about how do you look, it's about the style. You can do that virtual as well as physical. So it's logical that they're taking those next steps and investing quite a lot in it. And we will see gradually, also when technologies and possibilities evolve, other industries joining in, and hopefully a lot of us also invest in solutions that stimulate moving and think about those elements as well. Of course, it's a challenge, it's a risk, but it will definitely evolve. That's my opinion.
I totally agree. And to complete on what you were saying, when you look at the skills you need to build a metaverse from the gaming industry, is totally linked. You have like 3D models, you have camera design and so on. So from the perspective of the business, also the switch is really easy. And the fact that the people who are buying skins, who are buying things into the games, are totally adapted to the NFT world and this part of it. Another thing about the positivity, I think, it's before we had the TV, and people in front of the TV with the family for several hours. I don't know if it was really good for the socialization and so on. And at least we can imagine that it will be more immersive, and people will be involved in an action, in a socialization, in an exchange. And so they do not have just to read information and consume the information, they have to produce it and also act on it. And so this is a part of the story that I think we can think about and say, okay, maybe there is something to do with it.
Hi, my name is Brett Hecht. I'm working for a bank, BBVA. And given that we are heavily regulated as entities, I have a question concerning regulation. Taking your picture of the Wild West, where we are currently now, here in Europe, often we think about regulating the Wild West, right? In a civilized society, there are rules and so on. Regulation. So, from your point of view, given where we are in the evolution of these metaverses, where do you think we need, or what aspects of these metaverses, of these virtual worlds, do we need regulation in order to create that safe space where there is trust, where people can have trust and take up massively these metaverses, people and businesses, of course. And on the other side, where should regulators keep their hands off in order to enable necessary innovation.
One has to cover IP, another one has to cover assault.
Thanks for the discussion. So I will quite answer this. I'll try to with my colleagues. And yes, first of all, at the EU level, we have MiCA, crypto asset classification. So I think that we need to have a balance first about innovation. This is what the EU is doing right now. Right now we have a new sandbox, so DLT sandbox, so distributed ledger technology, it's blockchain just. And with this, so it's quite to promote innovation and also to allow the regulator, like with EPSI, European Blockchain Service Infrastructure, to allow this innovation, but also watch the regulator about what's going well or not. Second things, I would say we have MiCA 2, which is going to happen as well. This is also a huge one. And then we also have at the local level, I think in Belgium we have a huge effort to do with financial authorities like FSCA and others. We need to really empower and to educate them about what really fintechs, innovators, what we need about those digital asset classification. Because we have NFTs, it's part of it. Metaverse, we have also security token, which fractionalize entities. There is a lot of contention in Europe. We are quite doing this well. We are not like Abu Dhabi, where it's no more the Wild West, it's just an open bar, I would say. And Abu Dhabi is known for they have another structure also. I went there, it was cool. And just think, time will tell, as I used to say. So I will keep the micro for the others. I wanted to talk about IP, right?
IP considerations, I leave maybe to Sasha, something like this. I can talk maybe about expanding a bit the subject about the regulation. It's also about the regulation and the monitoring also of social interactions in such a metaverse. So it happens to be that in a metaverse in which people are identified as their real selves, it's pretty impressive to witness, but people behave. What do I mean by this? Like here we are as a group in a place. Nobody sang a song during the presentation. Nobody laughed out loud. Nobody started taking a phone call. Everybody here in the group basically behaved socially and respected all social norms. And it happens that when you put plenty of people in a metaverse environment and that they are properly identified with their real selves, the same behavior happens. There are concerts with live mics for everyone going on. So you have like one concert and you have 300 people with their mic basically open, and everybody basically respects the artist, respects the thing, and they behave like they would basically in real life. And this is something that is fascinating to see because it wasn't a given. Most metaverse builders expected people to go wild basically in the virtual worlds because it was virtual and therefore less consequences and so on and so forth. But we see that social rules actually stick in virtual environments.
I personally strongly believe in the power of regulation as well. It's a thin line. You cannot block stuff, but if the regulator is working with the industry, like what you're trying to do as well, blockchain for Belgium, making the link, that's the part where it can be an enabler because you start to give the trust. That's the part where it all ends for a bigger adoption, a mass adoption, both for businesses and for consumers. And just a second thought about it, I do not see why the hell we should make a difference between something that we call the metaverse and any other digital solution. So yes, all of the rules that apply today, by definition, they apply there as well as a starting.
You had a question about where it should be, and I think that I heard I didn't invent myself, but it's really on the off and on ramp solution. All this part is really like the most, I think, important, and where the money flows at the end and where the cut could be done by the state. Then I think it's also about the pains and the rewards. I believe that today we are trying to regulate every aspect of the people doing like misbehavior, but at the end it will be probably easier to reward people doing great things and going into the right direction and making like improvement of the system in itself. And so proposing solutions from companies to make it more regulatable, because the problem right now at the end is that the people using it do not want to be regulated because they fear that the government in itself will not sustain in the case, and I understand them. At the end, there is a real, okay, but what if everything goes bankrupt? We do not want like the real euro, and it's why the real believers from the ground are on the opposite side of the regulators. It's because there they will never agree on something. On the other part of it, I think that there are walls. It's like with the children. I decided to focus on security, and on security, I cry in a sense. I say no, this is not possible, and I put clear boundaries. And for the moment, one of the biggest problems with builders and why they leave, I see a lot of people building like just leaving the country. Why? Because they fear that it's changing all the time. It's evolving, but not, you never know where it will go. And so I think that if you say, okay, bad behavior, sex stuff on children and so on, it's like a wall. Fraud, it's a wall. Money laundering, it's a wall. Criminality and so on, it's a real wall. You are clear on that, and this is the limit that nobody can just pass, an ounce on it. But the difficulty is link it with the anarchist, I will say, of the blockchain, and this is like a wall to paint and clarify how you bring those two group of people together.
Yeah, I can only say agree. Theft is theft wherever you commit it. You apply the same laws. You don't necessarily need new laws. You maybe need new tools to find them and get them. That's probably the difference, right? And the proof. Another aspect you touched on is where is the limit of regulation, and it's a very important aspect because you need to keep creativity going in such an environment. The internet grew so much because it had a lot of freedom. And there you come from the financial world, maybe we can inspire ourselves. There's this question of significance of impact. Are you significant? Right? Is it significant for society as a whole? Or if this thing goes wrong, does it have little impact? So if something becomes high impact, maybe then you need somehow to intervene. The other aspect I wanted to quickly touch on is the tool. I mentioned in my speech about reputational scores. We need to be careful with this, but it is actually a tool that can help to self-regulate a lot of things. You don't need any intervention because now that communication is so imminent and transparent to a certain level, it's easier to apply. Right? It's not a neighbor saying, "Oh, hearsay about you." If you have, 2 million people starting to say that you misbehave, maybe there's maybe some truth to it, right? As opposed to just one neighbor that doesn't like you. Okay, that can have a lot of damage. And the next evolution to that is basically it is also fairly easy today with AI tools to detect certain things and flag them very early on, right? Again, you need to be careful how you apply it and all that stuff. But these are tools. While these tools grow in terms of quantity and depth and reach of interactivity, we have also the tool that can limit it that grow at the same time. We need to be aware of this. So that's basically these are my few ideas on this.
I have a little point about what you were saying about the IP. I think that today the code is just like a tool, and when we see like ChatGPT and so on creating code today, it has been incentivized for developers and so on to be remunerated in certain ways. But I think really that we could change it from the employee level, the self-contractor, the company level, even the government level, could be really incentivized to the optimization of our society, the optimization of the way we work. The process in itself could be linked with the remuneration of the people. Like, for me, it's like a no-brainer that people inside institution should have like variables, but at every levels. Because right now it's trackable, it's kind of public, it should be visible for everyone. And so the first to be regulated and use blockchain technology should be the regulators and the government in itself. And it will help them also to understand how to use it properly.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to give the microphone to Alexandra Cambry-Guillon.
Thank you. Didn't know people called me like that, sorry. I used the wet name, even though it's been 10 years. Whatever. If you want to go and sit, please be careful at the camera. Thank you so much. It was super, super interesting, and I know that everyone's got more questions, but there's there's food, there are drinks afterwards, and so don't leave straight away. I'm not going to keep you for much longer, just to show you what's coming up. The first one is with one of our partners, Microsoft, explaining basically everyone sees it as technology, but they're doing much more. They have a great team to support startups, scale-ups with their solution. It's a half a day to explain how they support you, how they support fintechs, in their business plan, expansion, go to market, whatever. They have a really great dynamic team there to help you out. I don't know why this one is going, there's something automatic in there. Then we will have a webinar on innovative rewards with KPMG. It's the third of a series of 3, where we try and help our startup scale-up fintechs to not to get hit too hard by whatever crisis we're going through. Then the next one, very exciting as well, is yes or no? It's on regulation. Don't know if I may use the word exciting, but it's VASP 1 year later, and MiCA, the effect of that at DLA Piper. I'm really sorry, it just keeps going backwards. No, it doesn't want to. Then the next one, really exciting one, Digital ID Meetup, and that will be with Mathieu Michel, with It's Me, with My ID. Everyone will be there, including Proximus with their digital solution. I might have some help with that by Joanna, thank you. Digital KYC solution coming as well. So you will have the pleasure to see again. It doesn't work. Sorry. I'm abandoning it. So Acceleration Week. So it will be a full week dedicated to the challenges of our ecosystem, of our industry. So whoever has a use case, I'm turning, of course, to Worldline in the room, but other corporates who would have challenges. We're looking into 3 cases. We're going into a hackathon after that. So everyone is more than welcome. We're still looking for partners, jury members, mentors, and of course people to be part of this hackathon. I'm going back again. And then the next meetups will be on open finance and the data economy. In between, we'll have a general assembly, which is only for the members, and also the anniversary event, a big networking event for the members and also the partners. So it's still time to become a partner because it's a great party. So then we have, anyway, you can follow everything that we do on our website, on the events page, and then you have a little page there that you can see. It's a calendar that you can, you can, how would you say that?
Register, subscribe.
Register, subscribe, thank you. It's on Google, and you can follow our events, but not only. Every time we get big events in there. I'm talking Money 2020, but many others, and all the ones of our partners as well. So I'm not keeping you for much longer. If I can just ask the speakers to come here so that we can have a picture. And I don't know yet, the Worldline team, it has been done, so we will join you there. I just would like to thank you all, and already the partners and all the members that are supporting us. We are now representing 145 fintechs, so and many more to come. And thank you so much for all your help, and thank you for your time.